Today I'm just going to give a brief overview of Turnitin UK. Basically I'm going to go through why we use it, why we have a need for it, what software is available, as I said, a brief demo of some of the features of Turnitin, some considerations and challenges you need to consider when you're using it. So at the moment, the buzzword, everything now is about sharing. Now, that's great and it's good to get this sharing culture set up, but sometimes the original sources of things can get lost when people are resharing. For instance, Facebook, Twitter, blogs. People share quotes, they share thoughts, they share videos, but very rarely share where it actually came from. So this can actually form bad habits, and they maybe feel that they don't need to cite things, so we need to sort of conquer that. Students these days have access to so many sources through the web and through various technology, so we basically need to figure out how we can use this technology to actually keep up to these increased sources and increased references. Okay, some reasons why we could use Originality Checking software. A lot of cases of plagiarism are not necessarily deliberate. Students can be confused. They maybe don't know how to reference, how to paraphrase. So they're basically they need educated in how to do this correctly. So we don't want to trip them up or deliberately punish them. We want to actually show them the right way to do it. The tool can help teachers in that it can help sort of identify possible occurrences of plagiarism, but it can also highlight to them students that need a little help with correctly quoting sources. From a student's point of view, they can actually see the originality report themselves, so they can actually see where they're going wrong with it, and it can help improve their academic writing skills. If you put in your policies that you're using software, it can also act as a deterrent to anyone who is trying to deliberately plagiarise. It saves teachers time in that it checks thousands of sources automatically, it checks journals, websites, all different sources. These days some external examiners require it, and most UK universities use it. So especially if there's any partnerships with universities, it may be a good idea to use it in conjunction with them. Two of the leading software packages available are Turnitin UK, which is the one I'm going to demo today, and some people who have Blackboard may know about SafeAssign, which integrates with Blackboard. They both work in a similar way. They both offer similar features. Turnitin provides an immediate originality report, which is a very good feature to have. Okay, I'm just going to do a brief demonstration of Turnitin now. Okay, so when you log into Turnitin, just go to the home page here. Okay, when you first log in to Turnitin, it'll have your organisation or your institution on the front page. At the moment I'm logged in as Queen's University of Belfast, but whatever college you're in, that will be on your screen. For each cohort you have, or each class, you set up a class. I've already set up one for Turnitin. So this is the page where we add the assignments. So I'm just going to add an assignment. These are ones that I have added previously. I'm going to add a new assignment. So normally it would be a paper assignment. If you want students to submit multiple sort of revisions of their assignment, you would use a revision assignment, purely because you don't want it to be compared with their original assignment. So we're just going to set up a paper assignment now. So start date and due date, I'm just going to leave them as default, but obviously you would set the dates they need to be submitted by. There's a number of optional things here that you can set. It's recommended in the special instructions that you tell the student that this will be submitted to an originality report, just to make them aware of the fact. You can choose various options to accept submissions after the due date or whatever. Yes, we want to generate an originality report. We can exclude quoted materials as well. And here's an option which may be of use. You can enable anonymous marking so that students can't say they've been marked too low or marked too high. So I'm just going to leave it as the default. So if I submit this. So there's our assignment set up. Okay, so I'm actually going to upload a report to this. I have set this assignment up for anonymous marking, and just to demonstrate how that appears, I'm going to add a report to that. So more actions, submit paper. So you can upload a single file, or if you have files, multiple files, or you have zip files, you can do that as well. Okay. Okay, so I've chosen my file and I'm just going to upload it now. Okay, so we get to preview the file just to make sure that it's uploaded correctly. So yeah, hit submit. Okay, this again gives a preview just for confirmation of what's been uploaded. So we now go to the inbox. So for that assignment, this is the inbox that all the submitted assignments will appear in. If we then refresh the page after a few seconds, it gives us a percentage of originality. As you can see, mine's quite high. This is a test document that I've uploaded a number of times, so it's highlighting that it's compared mine to my previous. Okay, so as you can see here in the author section, instead of displaying the name, it's displaying anonymous marking enabled. Okay. Okay, so we click on the title of the assessment. And this brings up what's called the document viewer, and this is where the real sort of analysis is done. So it shows us where there's occurrences that may possibly be plagiarism, and it shows us then the sources that they have come from. As I said previously, this has come from my previous paper, but if we actually go into this, we can go into that and get a whole list of the original or the secondary resources that it has come from. So not only do we get the primary matches, but we also get possible secondary matches. Okay, if we go down to one of these websites, we can click on this and it will bring up the actual source and where the text is in the document. Okay. Now, we can also filter if we want. So we can exclude matches that are less than a certain number of words, just to make it easier to read if there's a lot of matches. We can exclude anything in quotes, but it's perhaps not recommended, because if someone has actually put in half a page quote, even though they've cited it, it may not be good to do that, and it may not be, it may be just taking up space and it may not be the students' work. That would be at the discretion of the teacher as to whether they want to do that. So this is basically, it's not a decision tool, and it basically just gives you the information to actually decide what the situation is. Okay. So if we go back now to the presentation. So considerations and challenges. As I mentioned before, it doesn't make a decision. It just gives you the tools to help you decide. It does give a percentage, but it's not indicative on its own, because it depends on the length of the document. It depends if there's a lot of short quotes. It produces the report to allow staff and students identify where there may be plagiarism. There's still a need for teachers to use their academic judgment in what the structure of the document is, whether it's well put together, whether they have paraphrased. It's not a replacement for traditional tools, but it helps reduce the time spent investigating. The usefulness of the report can be affected by the subject, e.g. programming code, maths formula, some elements of languages may be repeated. So it's really up to the subject experts to decide whether it's appropriate for their subject. From a data protection point of view, any work uploaded to Turnitin is stored so that it can be cross-checked in the future. Student papers that are uploaded remain the intellectual property or the copyright of the institution or the student. They are not shown. When you click on that source, it does not bring up the content of student papers. It only brings up the content of other sources, websites, open access. Students also need to be told and be made well aware and sign up to the conditions that they are using this and they are submitting their assignment to this system. There may be a need to change policy to incorporate the originality checking. You need to consider how to implement it. So do you check all papers? Do you check a random sample? And as I mentioned earlier, you can use anonymous marking to avoid any discrimination issues. There is a cost to Turnitin. The price is based on the FTE numbers for the institution. So that would be directly negotiated with Turnitin themselves.